How hard? Well, let me start off with the characters in general. So let's say with Red, you took a small little circle and made it fit into the world, giving it a body and a different type of look. How difficult was that incorporating that?
It was a long process, honestly. You know, we always knew that we wanted to keep him recognizable, all the characters really. So we looked at his brows and his face, and that was definitely from the icon of the game the most recognizable part of all the characters, and we kind of built out from there. So if you hit everything else, it's still Red or Chuck or Bomb from the game, but everything else is kind of like our own invention. And then we clued off the cues from the game too. Like Chuck is a triangle, so we tried to hold on to some of that idea. Red is kind of the simplest character in the movie. He's more of just an oval shape. But yeah,
Bomb is basically who Bomb is. I mean, he's
he looks like an old-timey
cartoony
cop Bomb.
Yeah, Acme.
Yeah,
Acme Bomb, right?
And then the arms and the legs and the wings were, for me, a sigh of relief because we could actually perform and characters could pick up things and point and do all the things you need for full animation performance. But it was a pretty long process just to figure out the groom of the feathers, the texture of the characters. It was a challenge.
And I think the most important thing for us was, creating. We knew that they were just icons, and that people had sort of an idea that this guy does this. The yellow bird goes really fast. Bomb blows up, but that's you can't make a movie out of that. So you have to create fully realized, funny, entertaining characters. We both our trainings and sort of our backgrounds is sort of creating personality, and so that was. We keyed off what John Vitti had wrote, but it was basically creating characters that were believable and relatable and really, really funny.
Yeah.
That was sort of our one goal in every story meeting was this came out of Red's mouth. Now what would be funny coming out of Chuck's mouth, or what would be a funny reaction for these two guys? And we sort of we squeezed that. That was the sort of the muscle that we were trying to sort of work in every single part of the process. From the storyboards all the way through to recording the voices through animation.
Speaking of unique characters, the one that actually caught me most by surprise and fun was the Mighty Eagle, Peter. I think he did a great job on that. How did it come around for you actually casting Peter for that role?
Oh gosh, it was. I mean, John, Kohner, producer, genius at sort of casting, and finding the right actor for the part. We all talked about who would be great, and we all had our picks, and everyone felt that
Yeah, we knew
if we didn't think it was a possibility in the world that we would ever get Peter Dinklage. He was blowing up on Game of Thrones, but his character and the characters that he's played, are so interesting, and so they're just rich, and we knew that we needed somebody. We didn't want Mighty Eagle to be just the character from the game who just comes in and cleans the slate for everybody. We knew he had to be a complex character because he's sort of the comedic foil to these three guys, and we wanted to turn audiences' expectations, and I think Peter was perfect for that. He was just the right guy to be able to create, the larger than life, character that Mighty Eagle is.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones is pretty huge. I mean, it's huge everywhere, but in Finland it's huge. And our CEO, Mikhail Head, he was a big fan, and he actually was like, we should get Peter Dinklage. And so we approached him, showed him the artwork, showed him the story, and he signed on. And for us it was great, because most people know him from Game of Thrones, but, there's movies like Elf, or is it Death at a Funeral, where he's an amazing comedic talent too. So, so that's the muscle he really flexed. He brought so much improvisation and just comedy to the role that it wasn't necessarily there in the beginning.
If you look at, we're both a big fan of his movies. If you even look at In Bruges, he plays an angry character in that, and it's sort of comedic in its tone. It's sort of an little movie that, and tonally, you know, and so that he's just, he has amazing range. He could really do anything, you know, but perfect for Mighty Eagle.
Yeah.
So how difficult was it trying to find that balance to bring in fans of the games and new audiences who probably know of Mighty Birds, but just Angry Birds, but just never really got into it?
Yeah. Well, we knew that, you know, a huge range of age groups played the game and play the game, and really, at the start for us, we didn't really, you know, occupy our minds with that thought too much. Our concentration was just creating great comedic personalities, and Rovio gave us the freedom to basically create those personalities. They gave us a blue sky to just make these characters lovable to an audience, you know, and you know, you have the iconic facets of the characters from the game, but just bring it to a new level. Like, make them real characters, make them as popular as Olaf, make them as popular as, you know, Woody in Toy Story. You know, like just make them real, make them rich, and then our application of that is, if you create those, if you apply that, you know, and you sort of leave the game residue behind, and sort of you have something new.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't our first mandate to make the movie for the fans of the game. I mean, obviously we keep them in mind, and there's plenty in the movie that they're going to relate to and identify with, but foremost it was a movie that we wanted to go see, that would make us laugh, that we knew would make other people laugh. So it was more about the entertainment than kind of serving the core game audience, although we do have plenty for them.
And that was Mikhail's mandate too.
Yeah.
You know, like, he was like, the game is the game, now make the movie something new, something special, you know. So that was like amazing. And sometimes with adaptations, I think, from video games to movies, that's where they go wrong. They're almost too loyal to the source material, you know. And the movie has to, like, it has to be allowed to, like, live on its own, and it has to be allowed to sort of, you know, shed its skin, and sort of like, and just like, you know, and just become something else, you know. And that's, I think that's the key to why this movie is so rich.
Something that was really fun was second act when the pigs come in. How challenging was that? Well, I know you had the script, but was it to create that world for the pigs and bringing them in as a villain while making it still fun and fun?
Yeah, it is challenging to have a bad guy that you want to like the bad guys as much as the good guys in most good conflicts, you know. So it was there was a lot of time we spent on just figuring out, like, how are these guys funny on screen, you know, from the design, like, what's a funny version, you know, in the game they're just all circles, and, you know, what are the different sizes and shapes that we can make them into. And then just, you know, what is a weird take on these guys, this culture of, you know, kind of construction and breaking things down and building things up, and they don't really have any sense of, like, grief or regret.
They don't ruminate, the pigs.
Yeah.
They sort of, you know, like, if they build a 10-story building and, you know, and somebody knocks it down, you know, they don't think too much about it. They just kind of look at the pieces on the ground, then they just start building again, you know. But you know, again, with the personalities of the pigs, you kind of have to search for something more, you know. And we knew that we always asked ourselves a lot of questions, you know, about how do these guys, you know, are they, as individuals, they're really kind of
useless.
They're likable too.
Yeah,
like, you kind of like them, but then you put 2 pigs together or 3 pigs together, and they become a bit more of a threat, because they're not really high on the IQ scale, you know. And then, you know, of course, Hader's character Leonard, he's the master pig. He's really the hive. He's the head of the hive mind, right? They sort of have a hive mentality, but Hader's really the king or the queen pig, right? He's sort of like the architect behind all this, you know, their entire civilization.
Yeah, it's also fun to just take characters that are pure dumb and put them in situations and see how they would react. That was kind of like always the jumping off point of, like, okay, what's the dumbest way a pig could do something? And that's usually the path we took.
What are your favorite characters from the movie, personally, for you guys?
There's so many.
Mighty Eagle.
Mighty Eagle's
Love
great.
Mighty Eagle.
I love the Judge. I just love watching the Judge's animation. He's such a weird design, where almost his mouth is above where his eyes are sometimes. It's just bizarre.
I love Red. I think there's layers of complexity to Red's character that, you know, Red says and does the things that we'd love to do on a daily basis. You know, that's what makes him. That was kind of the key to unlocking how to make an angry character likable. You just make him relatable.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody would love to do this stuff that Red does. You know, like because we're all, you know, if somebody sneezes on you, you just want to slap them. You know,
Right.
like or
Right.
you know. If they invade your personal space, sometimes it's like we always use those relatable situations as sort of, you know, the jumping off point for the comedy, because making comedy relatable is a hard thing to do for movies, you know.
Yeah, and then, you know, obviously
like
you have Red, Chuck, and Bomb. You know, you get those three together, and there's just this magic that happens between them. So we worked a lot just to keep those characters together throughout the story. Originally, our movie, they kind of split up and went their different ways, and we really worked to get them back together because it was so much fun when you saw those guys interacting.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome.